Hey guys, number one Marmaduke fan here. How long has it been since I've done a no script review of whatever random TV show I'm watching? I've watched the first 8 episodes of Sonic Prime. I put it on while I was working on art. I think I'm not going to watch any more Sonic Prime because it's basically not doing anything for me. I don't hate it enough to do like the hate watching CinemaSins thing where I go through it, nitpick every little thing. I actually don't know. There's been this really interesting conversation going on both on my Twitter circles with my friends and even maybe in broader YouTube about, well, what is hate watching? Is it hate watching if you are is it just hate watching if you're painfully making yourself watch it even though you hate it and you're crying inside at the time you're wasting? Is it hate watching if someone's doing a really good job roasting it? Are you contributing to the hate watching just by watching someone else make fun of it? I don't know. So I don't think that what I did counted as hate watching because I was just putting on something to put on something while working, and now I've formed my opinion of it. So I guess the basic problem is, what do you expect from Sonic the Hedgehog? I don't expect Studio Ghibli from Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't expect William Shakespeare groundbreaking, earth-shattering stuff from Sonic the Hedgehog. What I was kind of hoping for going in was just a solid, fun action series that would make me laugh, maybe have like a few little heartwarming moments for the characters. Its problem, I would say, it has one fundamental problem, and its fundamental problem is if you are not a Sonic nerd and you don't know a lot about the Sonic characters and who they are and what their personalities are, I would say this show isn't for you because it's about Sonic hopping around from dimension to dimension and meeting alternate versions of his friends. Now, here's the thing. If you know who Tails the Fox is, and Tails the Fox is your favorite character ever, well, when you meet an alternate reality version of Tails the Fox, I found myself mentally filling in what I knew about Tails. Oh, Tails is normally a nice guy, but now he's a mean, an edgy guy, right? So the question is, how do you fix this for people who don't know that much about Sonic and don't know that much about these characters? Well, the writer's solution to this is to have Sonic basically do a giant exposition dump in every single episode. So he'll say, "Man, the Tails I knew, he's such a friendly little fox boy," and then he'd have these flashbacks to kind of flesh him out a little bit. So actually, there are a couple. Since I said earlier, I don't absolutely hate the show. Let me say a couple things I like about it. I like the models of the characters. They're, very accurate to the video games while slightly tweaking them, slightly updating them to give them a little bit more, make them work a little bit better for animation. So, for example, Big the Cat has a mouth now so he can actually talk. The choreography is kind of fun. It's not just... Like sometimes Sonic will have to do something clever, like instead of just bopping all the robots, he'll use his super speed to kick the robots and turn the robot parts into projectiles to shoot down more robots. So that part's definitely fun. So the look is pretty good. The story is where things are falling apart. And so because it's all one contiguous story, it's not just one episode is one self-contained story. It literally feels like you're watching a long, 2-hour direct-to-video VHS weird Sonic movie, but it's just chopped up into 20-minute chunks. It's sort of like if the plot of the whole movie is flawed, then the whole series is going to be flawed because it's all just one story. So after he has one adventure in one dimension, then he goes to another dimension, and now they're cave women, and then it'll do the same thing over and over again. It's Amy Rose, but it's instead of it being normal, nice Amy Rose, the Amy Rose of cave woman dimension. Oh no, she's mean, right? So one more thing I liked. I actually liked that they're having Sonic have flashbacks to his friends, because it's sort of like I kind of respect that the writers are trying to tell a story about Sonic. At least they're trying to flesh him out. So the idea is it's giving him his flashbacks to kind of flesh out who his friends are and how nice they are. And so it's like through Sonic's eyes, this is why it hurts for him to see like these alternate dimensions where his friends are all messed up or something's opposite or wrong about them. Instead of being courageous and tough-minded, pirate Knuckles, he's a coward. But it's that thing over and over and over again, right? So if you didn't like it the first time, you're not going to like it the second, the third, the fourth time. I basically know, even though this series isn't done, what's going to happen. He's going to keep hopping around dimensions. He's going to meet a few more different versions of his buddies. They'll put everything back together in the end. let me talk a bit about Sonic's character. One thing I liked about Sonic Prime is they make a point of having Sonic struggle. So he'll be running around and he'll get kicked around, or a bad guy will knock him into the air. So he's not invincible, mega Blue Mary Sue dude. He actually struggles and fights to get to accomplish things. So that makes it feel like he's behind the eight ball. It's not easy what he's doing. Something I didn't like about Sonic's character is they're kind of just portraying him as a dork now. Like, there were several scenes where he'll say, the point of the joke is that Sonic's flustered and awkward and doesn't know what to say in this situation. So he'll say, wow, man, I just don't believe that. And then there'll be like an awkward 4-second pause, and I'll realize, oh no, this is where I'm supposed to be laughing, isn't it? But there's no Scooby-Doo laugh track here to remind me to laugh. Uh-oh. So Sonic says things that are kind of awkward and mildly amusing, and the writers clearly think that this was a laugh out loud, bust a gut kind of line. It's really just Sonic saying something just kind of like slightly socially awkward in the moment. This might be because of the movie. I think the movie has maybe the movie version of Sonic. They kind of have a point that he's a comic book nerd, and he basically was raised alone, so he's awkward and he's kind of desperate for a mom and dad. I actually think the movie made it work. He needs a father figure in his life. That was the theme of the movie. But my problem with Sonic Prime is he's kind of just a dork. I thought a big point of Sonic was he was supposed to be maximum cool to the extreme. Actually, yeah, I think that's true of both 90s Sonic and modern Sonic. Modern Sonic was a pretty good blend. So if 90s Sonic was what was his catchphrase? It's juice and jelly time. I'm waiting. He was basically Bart Simpson. 90s Sonic was basically Bart Simpson. And then with modern Sonic, kind of like in the GameCube PS2 era, they kind of like gave him a refresh, and he was the man of adventure. He just loves the wind in his hair, loves running around at the speed of sound, right? And I feel like with this version, I don't get why he's cool, right? It seems to me a big part of his appeal is that he has this sort of grace and this confident, toughness to him. Even if he's in the face of a difficult situation that's not easy, he ought to be, he ought to be a little bit better at handling this. And all of the comic relief is dumped on Sonic, basically. Since it's always he meets a new version of his friends, he's got to reintroduce himself to his friends because they don't recognize him in the alternate dimension. He's got to solve the little problem in the alternate dimension. It kind of falls to Sonic to carry everything. He has to carry the comedy. He has to carry the action scenes. He's the only character who has a through plot at all. I think the main problem is they don't know what to do with Sonic and the broader cast. I would be really interested to see an action series where it's the team going on adventures, and their trials and their fights test their bonds of friendship. And Sonic's the leader, but he needs his friends to back him up. What's awkward about Sonic Forces is it's making the point that Sonic's a tough guy, but he needs his friends. He needs his friends to back him up, but his friends aren't really in the story at all. They're in the first little scene of the first episode for a few minutes. Then Sonic's a doofus, and he shatters the crystal that breaks the multiverse or whatever. And now he's off on his own, and we're seeing alternate dimension versions of his friends. And because they're alternate dimension versions, that makes it harder to care about them, because I know that Sonic's going to go back to his home eventually, and we'll never see these alternate dimension versions of his friends again after that. Here's one more. Here's maybe like a constructive criticism idea. So this is a Netflix series, and I think Netflix has normalized series. Netflix has normalized the serial format. They expect you to sit and binge the entire thing in one go. Whereas in the 90s and the 2000s, there was this expectation that a kid who watched an episode of the show may never ever watch another episode of the show. So as a consequence, a lot of those episodes have a lot of punch to them. Even a show like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where there is an overarching plot for the entire series and character threads, the episodes still have individual plots that are resolved. So if you only catch a few episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, that's enough to feel satisfied. It's like, oh, that's cool. That was a nice little story. Maybe there's more. I'll go check it out. Sonic Prime is a movie cut up into chunks, which means there are often there's no resolution to a given episode. There's often like a really awkward cut where maybe Sonic will solve an immediate problem and then get blasted into another dimension, and someone will come up and say hi to him. Whoa, who are you? And then boom, it'll cut almost seemingly in the middle of a conversation. So it feels like pausing a movie and walking away. I miss that episodic element where each episode has some warmth and leaves me feeling satisfied at the end of it. So, and actually, a lot of old cartoons would have an episode where the hero would get, teleported back in time or teleported to an alternate dimension. But it'd be maybe a one episode, maybe a two, maybe a 3 episode thing. And they were really hesitant to do the 2 and the 3 episode thing because you had no guarantee that the kids would catch the first part or catch the second part. So it was sort of like as a last resort, we'll stretch this out into 2 episodes, right? Yeah. And so since okay, one more thought I had about that. So when you have a cartoon where the hero of the story gets teleported back in time or whatever, you can't expect a 30-minute cartoon episode to have like the most brilliant idea of time travel you've ever seen. It's basically the same plots over and over again. But the fun of it is seeing a character who we know and like thrust into an unfamiliar situation. We know who these characters are and what they're like. What would happen if they went back to 1970? And that's what creates the interesting scenario for them. When that's the entire scenario, it's sort of like the problem with multiverse stories is exactly the same as the problem with time travel stories. Time travel, if your story's all about time travel is going to become the most important element of it. That time travel is the weirdest thing going on. In a multiverse story, the fact that you're meeting another alternate universe, it's making it hard for me to care about Sonic's arc in this story. For a good example, so since we're doing constructive criticism and not just hate watching, a really good example of something that was done, a cartoon series about alternate universes, was Aaron Sparrow's Darkwing Duck comics. I remember he did a parody series that was sort of making fun of DC's multiple universes with Darkwing Duck, but then the comics actually had a really clever solution where instead of just Darkwing Duck hopping around to all these different universes, all the Darkwing Ducks from the different universes sort of plop down into Darkwing Duck's universe. And then, of course, evil Darkwing Ducks started running amok and destroying things. So you cared and were invested because all the alternate universe characters were threatening the main character's world and the established world that you care about, right? And so what the multiverse angle did in that story is it created tension for the hero in the world we care about. The Sonic Prime version of it is just hop to the next universe, hop to the next universe, hop to the next universe. Where I left off, there's a hint that Sonic's going to have to fix the crystal and fix all the different universes. But I basically watched enough to get a feel for what the show is. If you're a kid and you like Sonic, I figure, if this show came out when I was 12, a 12-year-old Sonic fan, I would have dug it. I probably would have had a blast with it. If you have a kid in your life who's a major Sonic fan, you could probably watch it with them, and it probably wouldn't be like cloyingly awfully bad. It's not that it's awful, it's just average. Solid C. It's mid. That's what it is. So if you're not the biggest Sonic super nerd in the world, skip it. You're not going to miss anything. One last weird thing about the writing. So they even reference stuff in Sonic Boom. I'm not caught up with the recent Sonic games, so maybe some Sonic nerds can help me out with this. They have a line where Sonic says to alternate Amy Rose, "Man, the real Amy Rose, she'd say we should talk about our feelings." And I just thought, wait a minute. The only time I've seen Amy Rose making people talk about their feelings is Sonic Boom. So it's sort of like the writers of Sonic Prime have hoped you've watched Sonic Boom and kind of fill in the gaps. That is a good show, by the way. I've had conversations with absolute normies who are not Sonic nerds who dug Sonic Boom because the memes and the comedic writing of Sonic Boom is on point. So if Sonic Prime is trying to be a sort of regular run-of-the-mill action show, Sonic Boom is peak goofy, absurdist meme humor Sonic, like in the fine tradition of Long John Baldry Robotnik. I gotta put Long John Baldry Robotnik Sonic and Sonic Boom into the high A tier. So that's it. That I'm not gonna watch anymore. I'm not gonna hate watch it. I'm not gonna do the CinemaSins video on it. This is all you get. I love you guys. Catch you later.